If any of you are composters or gardeners, you know about volunteer plants, right? If you only compost at home, your compost doesn't normally get hot enough to break down seeds, like that are in tomatoes or cucumbers or squash. So these volunteer plants are plants that volunteer. They just pop up and you didn't plant them. They are just a gift, and a gift in abundance. Tomatoes especially, I think, love to just pop up everywhere. They spring up where there was nothing. One time I had, though, a volunteer plant that I couldn't figure out what it was. The leaves looked like cucumber, maybe squash. And the other thing is all the cucumber and the squash plants all kind of look like the same. They're kind of in the same family. But this fruit was long like a cucumber, but was big like it had some squash in it. And I thought, is this going to be a pumpkin or a cucumber? It was this really weird Frankenstein plant. Eventually, I took it off the plant and cut it open to see what it looked like inside, just because I was curious. And I still don't have an answer. I don't know. It was kind of rindy like a pumpkin, but still, it was big. I don't know if there was like some cross-pollination that happened, but it was a strange plant. Not what I expected, but I hadn't planted it, so it was okay. Makes me think, too, of some of our farmer friends, Leslie and Donald at Solway Farms here, out in Eastview. They had carrot problems earlier this year. They tried their fall carrot round 3 different times, and they kept planting it, and the carrots would germinate and then die, which was very frustrating for them, having to plant and replant these carrots. And they thought, what is going on? Are we doing something wrong here? But it turned out that the carrot seed farmers, the people who plant the carrots to grow into carrot seed, had been experiencing pest problems, and so it was bad seed all along and not their fault. And sometimes in life, we too set out to do something and wind up with something else or somewhere else. Our dreams and plans and expectations don't always work out, try as we might. We set out to love our family, but are stuck again and again with people who will not change to fit our desires, no matter how much we want them to. Or we replay the same scenarios over and over again with anger, or a rebellious child, or a frustrating parent. Sometimes, too, we feel, as I was saying to the kids, dried up, like a dead-looking amaryllis bulb or a stump that has been cut down. Have you ever felt like that? Dried up, chewed up, spit out, wore out, looking at the plant of your life and wondering how you got there and what the future will be. And certainly in our world today, we sometimes feel like that, or I feel like that often, about peace in Israel and Palestine, peace here in our country, a future for those who are hungry. God, we want something better, but we get these weird Frankenstein plants or dry, barren ground. We hear in our 2 passages from Isaiah today, and they don't necessarily go together, but there are 2 really beautiful messages to hear when we put them together. Isaiah 5 talks about the people of Israel, God's vineyard. and they will be dried up. God, again, is so frustrated with them and the ways that they don't follow God that God says, okay, I'm going to take down the hedge protecting you. I'm going to send away the rain. It's interesting, isn't it? It's not just destruction, but kind of this powerful neglect. But then, Isaiah 11, not much longer after that, and as we remember from Hosea last week, no matter how frustrated God is with us, with the world God created, with what we were meant to be, and yet where we fall short, God does not give up, but keeps sending us hope, new leaders, reasons to keep going. God says that dried up, dusty ground can bring forth volunteer tomatoes, beautiful flowers, luscious gardens. It makes me think of that scene from The Princess Bride where the prince goes to the magic guy, Billy Crystal, what's his name? Magic Mike or something? That's not right. Miracle Max, yep. Totally different thing. Anyway, Miracle Max, and they think he's dead, and they're trying to revive him. And Miracle Max asks him a question, and the other guy, the Diego Montoya, whatever his name is. Anyway, he says he's dead. He can't talk, and Miracle Max says, he is only mostly dead. That means he is slightly alive. And, then they pump air in him, and suddenly he's alive, right? Okay, so we, too, are like that. And the stump of Jesse in Isaiah 11, the message from God is that, no matter how crusty, dead, dried up, barren you may feel, you are not fully dead. You are only mostly dead. You are slightly alive. And more than that, with God's Spirit, God moves in us to bring us fully alive, to make us flourish, to bring life out of dry, dusty, barren ground, to bring the tomato volunteers up, to sprout leaves, at least, from an amaryllis, and probably God would do better and, give us flowers and all that, but I don't know how to do that. I've never figured that out with the amaryllis plants. But God is a better gardener than us, and God moves in us to bring a shoot. God brings it to the world, too. This week, I saw news from someone that I went to college with. Her name was Casey McIntyre. She wasn't close to me. She was a senior when I was a first-year student, but I went to this really small women's college. There's about 1,000 students at any one time, so if you're there, you basically know everyone. So I knew who she was. She died this week or last of cancer. She was 38 years old, has a small child and a husband. She fought that cancer bravely, but out of her death, she planted new life. I think her dying wish was that people would honor her life by bringing jubilee to others. Jubilee being that Old Testament concept of release from debt. And so her family has been raising money for an organization called RIP Medical Debt, which buys people's medical debt for pennies on the dollar and raises money to forgive that medical debt. They buy it for pennies on the dollar, and so a small donation or even a large donation will have 1,000 times its impact. The fundraiser in honor of her life has raised, I think, $216,000 so far. 100 times that is roughly $26 million, according to my math this morning. $26 million of medical debt forgiven for people who will receive it as a surprise and a gift. Now, it's messed up, I think, that people are living under such crushing debt in the first place. But in the absence of being able to tear down and reform our whole medical system, we can at least see that this organization, RIP Medical Debt, and Casey and her family have given a great gift to many people who will never have known Casey or anything about her, but will have a gift of debt forgiven. Even in our actual death, God works for new life, for a shoot coming out of the stump. So friends, this week, where is God working new life in you? In those places that you feel barren, maybe look and see and wait for a shoot to spring up, a leaf to poke out. And if you're not feeling barren, remember too that God may work through us to be the shoots of new life for other people. Casey's story both is impacting people by releasing their medical debt, but also her fundraiser and her story sort of went viral this week on the internet and news outlets and has inspired countless people that we can make a difference. And it's true for all of us too. Where can you poke out a little leaf, a little tomato volunteer, a little bit of life for someone this week? In your family, in your friend circle, where you work, where you volunteer. What is it that you can do to bring new life? God does not give up on us ever, but moves through us continually. We are never all the way dead, but we are alive in Christ. Thanks be to God.